Hello friends, my name is Zeko and welcome to a brand new video. Today we are talking Wolverhampton Wanderers, specifically 3 signings that I think they should be making in this transfer window. But before we get into that, I'd just like to say that if you enjoy the video, please leave it with a like and subscribe if you haven't for more content coming soon. Now with all of that said and done, let's get right into it and talk about 3 players that I think Wolves should sign. Before we get into who I think they should sign, I really think we should have a look at what they did last season, specifically how they performed. So, what happened? Well, they amassed 51 points out of their 38 Premier League matches, and they conceded 43 goals, but they only scored 38, and the 38 goals that they scored is really where I'm going to be aiming right now. They're clearly not creating enough chances, and they're not scoring from the chances they actually do create. This means that I think they need to have a change of system, and a change of way of playing to allow them to go forwards and to control and dominate matches a little bit better. This leads me into the players and how I think they should set up with those players. So with all that said and done, let's get into how I think they should play. So this is the Wolves side that I've got just lined up. I think they should be changing to a back 4 and specifically playing a 4-3-3. The striker playing inside a little bit to be able to cope with the other 3 midfielders, giving them enough solidity in the middle of the park to be able to control and dominate matches. At least more than they're doing at the moment. Yes, they're defensively sound, but it's a lot of last-ditch defending and a lot of the defenders really being on the back line and the back foot, trying to make sure that they don't concede any goals. I think a change to a back 4 system really will benefit them in the long run, and although there may be some teething problems at the start, I think that overall the squad and the team will benefit the most from changing to this system. So let's go through it. Jose Sarr had an amazing season last year, so I think he will be fine in goal. Nelson Semedo is a very good right back and very capable right back, so there's nothing wrong there. Connor Cody or Max Kilman, I've got them both in the same position because I think they should be interchangeable. I don't think they can work together, which leads me into my first signing. My first signing should be a centre-back, one that can command the area and at least be well enough with his feet to be able to play out from the back. Aït-Nouri was a revelation in my opinion. I thought he played absolutely amazing and he really showed his quality towards the latter stages of last season. We then move into midfield. João Moutinho, his situation is very much up in the air. Will he sign a new contract? His contract actually expires at the end of June, so how will he fare? Will he get a new contract? Will he be able to stay at Wolves? We're not so sure. It seems like he should be signing a new contract, but nothing has been announced at the time of recording, so I've got to assume that he might not be there next season, which means they're going to need another central defensive midfielder, one that can try and shuffle across, maintain possession, keep the play moving, and link up with both Dendoncker and Neves. Obviously, other midfielders are available. You've got to play Neves, and Dendoncker's position could be changed, but I've just got him there as a little bit more of solidity rather than anything else. We then go forward and we have Pedro Neto on the left-hand side, Daniel Podence on the right-hand side. Of course, you could interchange some of the wingers. We know that they've got Hwang Hee-chan. We know that Adama Traore is coming back, but they might be looking to get rid of him and he might be surplus to requirements. But it's that central striking role that I also want to have a look at. Yes, Raul Jimenez is okay, but is he really doing everything that he possibly can? He has played a lot of games, and to be honest, after his injury, he has not been the same. That head injury has really knocked him for 6, and I really don't know whether he's going to be able to come back and be as fit, as firing, and as firing as he was previously. I believe he only scored 6 goals this season, and that's really not good enough for a team like Wolves, who are attempting to break into the top half of the side and try to go for Europe. So that central striking role is going to be one that we're going to be looking at as well. Let's start off with the central defensive midfield position, and this player is one that is going to be a little bit more expensive, especially because of where he's coming from, but I think he's proper quality and he's not playing a lot, so it seems like this might be a good fit because Wolves can offer a lot of game time, a lot of matches, and going into a World Cup, that's what you want. You want to be playing week in, week out. The player that I am going for is Nathan Ake from Manchester City. Now, this is quite a move. It's quite a step down for him, if you want to say, from winning Premier Leagues to going and playing for Wolves, who aren't really competing for all too much. Yes, they're gunning for Europe, but they're not really going for the same titles that Man City are. and that's okay because they can offer him week in, week out football, one where he can be a staple in a team, and they're playing in the Premier League. He is Premier League proven, he is a very good player, but he's just not quite there at Man City, and he's being wasted as just cover. He's only played 14 matches last season, which is a pitiful amount, especially when you consider that he's trying to get into that Netherlands squad for the World Cup at the end of December, or at the end of November, I should say. And overall, he needs to be making a move. He needs to be doing it for his career so he can get regular, continuous game time, and one where he's not just sitting on a bench collecting trophies, which is great. He's also collecting a paycheck, which is fantastic. But as a footballer, you would have thought he'd have ambition to play football and play the game that he loves. And I think Wolves would be a perfect place for that. He'd be able to link up with Conor Coady or Max Kilman, and they would make a pretty good partnership. Both of them pretty good with the ball at their feet. Kilman more than Coady, but also Aki is very good in the air, linking up with Coady and making sure that they can be defensively, aerially defensive, as well as being defensively on the ground. I think he's got a good amount of pace about him, which means that they wouldn't need to be worrying too much about breaks on the counter, which means they'll be able to break up play quite a bit of the time, allowing them to play that back four system. And not to forget that his playing on the ball and his passing is also quite good, allowing him to play through into midfield or across. He's comfortable with everything, and he'd be a pretty good option for Wolves if they decided to go for him. He probably cost them around about 25 million. I would have thought maybe a bit more, but I think he'd be worth it. He's only 26 years of age, and you'd get a lot of game time out of him. You could guarantee him first team football, which is something that Man City just simply can't do at the moment, and it'll be up to the player whether he wants to try and continue and progress his career and keep himself fit for the World Cup. I really think it would be a sensational signing, and one that Wolves should seriously consider. Up next, let's have a look at the central defensive midfield position. We need a player that is tactically aware, positionally quite good. He sees an eye for a pass, and he's also very good with the ball at his feet. I've got a player, and it is Andre Gomes. Yes, that Andre Gomes from Everton. I think that Frank Lampard will probably be looking to move him on. It hasn't really worked out for him at Everton. He's been through quite a few managers, and it's just not quite gone well for him. Injuries have played a part. Obviously, he had a couple of quite bad injuries, and he hasn't played all too much. He's only played 14 matches, and overall, really, he needs to be looking for a move to try and reignite his career. He is 27 years old, and he will be looking to continue in the Premier League, I would have thought, or a move abroad, but I think the Premier League, it suits him. I think he's got the physicality to be able to play in it. He's played in it for long enough now that he's be able to walk into a Premier League side and be very astute and good at playing his role. I think if you gave him a centre defensive midfield role when he could play the sweeper, just playing around, making sure that the ball is continuously moving, and then still playing a pass going forwards into either Neto or Podence, or perhaps into Neves if he's playing a further role up the pitch, I really do think that Andre Gomes could be the player. He also is very good with driving with the ball. He can take players out of the game. I think he'd be a fantastic option for Wolves, one that could be a replacement for Moutinho. Even if Moutinho stays, he could be a decent player with him. You could have a midfield three of Moutinho, Neves and Gomes, and I really do think that that could be quite a potent midfield three, one that isn't so robust, but technically they would be brilliant and they'd be able to create chances at will, which is something that Wolves have severely lacked. Andre Gomes has only 2 years left on his contract, so if Everton want to get something out of him without him signing a new contract, they really are going to need to sell him this summer, and I think that this would be a prime time for him to be making the move and a prime time for Wolves to be trying to take advantage of his situation at Everton and the fact that he might be surplus to requirements. Something to look out for. I think Andre Gomes would be a fantastic fit in my new system that I think they should implement at Wolves. Last but not least, we need to be looking at the striking position. Raul Jimenez has done okay, but he needs some help, and Fabio Silva just isn't quite there yet. He might be in a couple of years' time once he gets a few more games under his belt, but he's not quite the finished article just yet, and I think that Raul Jimenez needs a little bit of help in sharing out the goals. The player that I've gone for is an attacking player from Valencia. He keeps the Portuguese connection alive for Wolves, and he is Goncalo Guedes. Yes, he is a striker slash winger for Valencia. He scored 11 goals last season, which although isn't too much, he predominantly played on the wing, but he can also play as a striker and he can play pretty much across the entirety of the front three. Now, he is wanted by Roma, and if the reports are to be believed, his agent is pushing him towards a move for Roma, but I don't think he'll get the game time at Roma that he would do at Wolves. I think the Wolves could guarantee a lot more game time, and again, like I said, going into a World Cup, game time is so very, very crucial. They need to be playing. These players need to be fit, firing, and ready, because there isn't long until the World Cup, and the managers will be making their decisions sooner rather than later on who stays and who goes, which means that the more game time you get, the more you can put yourself out there, and the more you can prove to your national team coach that you are the player that he should be taking to the World Cup. A massive event, and one that they need to think very, very carefully about. Of course, like I said, the Portuguese contingent at Wolves is very strong, and I think that that might be one of the pulling powers for Goncalo Guedes to be moving to the Molineux. We also look at Andre Gomes. He's another Portuguese player, and overall, I think it could be a good move for him. Although he's not a winger, although he's not a striker, I should say, he's predominantly a winger. He can play as a striker, and it'll be more fluid rather than anything structurally rigid. By that I mean Jimenez plays in a very certain way. He's a very striker's striker. He plays up top, holds up the play, keeps bringing players into play, whereas I think that Guedes might be able to do a little bit more interplay with Neto, with Pedence, with Hwang Hee-chan, and then they can go forwards. A much more attacking verve and vigour from Wolves, rather than the lump it up to the striker and hope that he pins it down on his feet and brings others into play. It's clearly not working for them at the moment, and I think with more players up the pitch, with more midfielders up the pitch to be able to assist Guedes and assist Pedence and Neto, I think that they'd be quite dynamic and quite rich in attacking options. He would cost a little bit more. I think he'd be probably around 45 to 50 million, but Valencia are selling their players at strange prices at the moment because their owners aren't exactly the kindest from what I've been hearing, so they might sell him for a little bit cheaper depending on how Wolves' negotiations go. I really do think that he's a player that should be looked at. He's got 2 years left on his contract, which means that Wolves might be in the negotiating seat, and Valencia might want to cash in on him now before he's allowed to only have 1 year left on his contract and is able to talk to agents on a free transfer. It is a risky one to make because it's a lot of money, but I do think that it's one for the future. Guedes is only 25 years old, and he would be able to go forwards and keep that Molineux attack going. Then combined with the youth of Neto and Pedence, it does strike for quite an exciting front three. Of course, you can interchange the players and he could play on the left or the right, and it's just a sensible signing, I think, if you can get it over the line. But that's just my opinion. I think that Guedes would really bed into this Wolves side and this Portuguese contingent and would really set the Premier League alight. And there you have it. These are the three players that I think Wolves should be going for. These players, in combination with the formation that I think they should switch to, with that 4 at the back and 3 midfielders or something of that ilk, will really help to keep the goals out like they have been doing previously, and make sure that they have enough attacking options and creative outlets to be able to create goals and, most importantly, score them. That has been a major problem for them last season, and I really do think that changing these things and bringing these players in will make a difference to them in the future. These players are readily available and aren't too expensive, and if you consider they might be able to get some money from Adama Traore or players of the like, I know that they're letting some players go, which would open up wages. Willy Bolly might be leaving, Jean Moutinho might be leaving, which would enable them to open up some of the wages. I really do think that these players would improve Wolves' squad by quite a way. And of course, that's what we want in the transfer window, isn't it? We want to improve our squads. We want to make sure that they have the best possible chance for getting the best possible finish in the Premier League in the next season. And that's what I think these players will do. Let me know in the comment section below how you feel about these players, how you think they would implement at Wolves if they were to sign. And if you think I'm wrong and you think you can name 3 other players, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you, and let's get that conversation going. But that's it from me for today. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave the video with a like and subscribe if you haven't for more content coming soon. As I said, let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on the players, your thoughts on Wolves' future and who you think they are going to sign. You can also follow me on Twitter at Zeko64 to know when my videos go live, or you can hit that notification bell so that you never miss an upload. But that's it from me for today. Like I said, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, take care of yourselves and bye-bye.